All right, let's get one thing straight right from the jump. This is not a book summary. Think of this more like an installation guide. We're talking about installing a whole new mental operating system, one that's designed for a kind of strategy that doesn't just play out over financial quarters, but over centuries.
You know, your story, it doesn't start on the day you were born. Not even close. It starts about 14 billion years ago. I mean, the actual stuff you're made of, the iron pumping through your veins right now, it was all cooked up inside collapsing stars. We are, and this is literally true, made of star stuff.
Okay, so we've got that cosmic scale. Now let's crash right down to Earth, to biology. Because at the end of the day, you're also just a clump of fat and salty water that somehow learned to think. And that right there is the first big tension we've got to tackle.
So here it is. This is the core problem. The universe spends 14 times billion years producing the single most complex thing we know of, your capacity to make decisions, your brain. And what do we use this incredible gift for? We use it to optimize a 30-year mortgage. We're playing an incredibly small game with a cosmic-level processor. And this is the gap. It's a chasm, really, between how we think, human scale time, and how the universe actually operates, cosmic scale time. This is the dead zone where incredible long-term wealth and real value just evaporate. Our entire world is screaming at you to focus on the right column, but all the real power, the compounding magic, it's all happening over on the left.
All right, so here's our game plan. We've just touched on that massive 14 billion year problem. Next, we're going to look at a new operating system to deal with it. Then, we'll get into the immortality debate, and finally, we'll lay out the Sovereign's roadmap.
So we've laid out the problem, right? This huge gap between our lifespan and cosmic time. The big question is, how do we possibly bridge it? Well, that brings us to the solution, a brand new operating system. And this is key. You don't just read a book like Majesty and Monotony. You have to install it.
So what on earth does that mean, install it? Well, think of it as a cognitive bootloader. This isn't a book of tips and tricks. No, this is about loading the foundational mental models, the base level code that you absolutely need to see reality on a higher level. Because without this upgrade, trying to build something that lasts for generations, you're not investing. You're just gambling with extra steps.
And here they are. This is your minimum viable operating system, the 4 pillars: mathematics, science, history, and language. Now forget how you learned them in school. These aren't just subjects. Think of them as the essential code libraries for your new OS. They're the fundamental tools you need to perceive reality as it actually is. And here's the operative principle, the big secret. Majesty hides in monotony. It's in the repetition. See, the universe runs on laws that just repeat over and over. And compounding is the only force that truly scales across that deep cosmic time. These 4 pillars, they're how you learn to see that force in action.
Okay, I can already hear what you're thinking. This is all great, but I'm gonna die, right? We're mortal. How can a mind that's only here for a handful of decades manage a portfolio meant to last for centuries? It's a fair question. So let's actually frame this out as a debate.
All right, so host A steps up. The argument is this. Once a reader truly internalizes these 4 pillars, they graduate. They start playing sovereign chess, building a wealth tree. They're allocating capital that will outlive them, period.
But then host B fires back. Hold on. A clump of fat and salty water with an average lifespan of 79 years and a phone packed with dopamine traps is supposed to be capable of this? Come on. That sounds a lot more like a religion than a book. Host A doesn't flinch. Look, consciousness itself is a form of local entropy reduction. It's fighting against chaos. And we've done this before. Humans have built multi-century institutions, churches, great universities, family dynasties. This book isn't a Bible, it's the training manual. And then host B lands the final punch, and it aims right at you. Okay, fine. But most people who try this fail miserably. So what makes this reader, what makes you any different?
And host A's reply is simple. Nothing, until they read the book. And we leave it right there. The debate isn't resolved for you, the choice is yours.
So, with that challenge hanging in the air, let's get practical. Let's move from the abstract philosophy to concrete action. This is the Sovereign's roadmap.
First up, foundation. And let me be crystal clear, this is non-negotiable. You read the book, you master the 4 pillars, you have to break that 50-year mental frame, because without this step, Everything else is just cosplay. You're just playing dress-up. Number 2, audit. This is where you take this new way of seeing and apply it to your own life, your portfolio, your career, everything. And you have to ask the hard question, where am I optimizing for human scale time? This is the painful step for sure. It's not easy to look at this stuff honestly.
Third, we have training. Think of any deep learning as a training simulation. This isn't about getting a grade. Every bit of calculus you do, that's a rep for modeling compound growth. Every physics concept, that's a rep for reasoning about how to fight entropy. It's gym time for your mind. Number 4 is execution. And what happens here is that these really high-level CFO-type models, they suddenly become legible. Sovereign chess, the 4 phases of money, the wealth tree, they stop being abstract concepts and start making perfect sense. This part becomes inevitable after you've done the foundation work, but it's totally impossible before it.
And finally, number 5, infrastructure. This is where you align your daily life with the big idea. Your home, the products you buy, they stop being expenses, leaks in the system, and they become part of the strategy. Your home becomes a sovereign node, not a financial drain.
So listen, once you finally catch up on your 14 billion-year-old story, you just stop being a passenger in someone else's economy. You're not a consumer of their narrative anymore. You become the sovereign architect.
It really all boils down to this: the whole system. The book is the source code, the tutoring is the training, the CFO is the runtime, the portfolio is the output.
Read the book first. Everything else becomes possible after.